Welcome to Aging Well in America. Every day, 10,000 people in the United States turn 65 years old. 5.5 million people today are aged 85 or older. By the year 2050, which is not that far from now, 20 million people will be aged 85 or older. Are we ready? Is America ready? There's so much good work going on around the country, around the state, and right here in our own community. And we have with us today one of those people who is doing some great work in the area of aging. I'd like to welcome Faye LaPorte.
Thank you.
Hi,
nice
Faye.
to be here.
You are a dementia specialist.
Yes.
You have gone through lots of training. You have a lot of personal experience.
Yes.
And you work for Bright Star Care in Grosse Pointe and the Macomb County area. And I wanted to talk to you about, first of all, a brand new support group that you are running, you are hosting in the Grosse Pointe areas for families of people with Alzheimer's and or some other type of dementia.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the support group. How did it get started, and what?
Well, I'm really excited about the support group, actually. It's a whole new venture for me. The whole goal of a support group, first I will tell you, is to provide a real comfy, safe, confident atmosphere for family members to talk about what they're scared of, and they have many fears, they have many frustrations. They just don't know what to do with their loved ones.
Right.
You know, their goal is to be the perfect caregiver, and they don't know how to be.
Right.
So the whole purpose of the group is to give them new ideas, but I think more importantly, my goal is for the group to empower itself and to help each other.
Oh, yes.
Because once they help each other, they become confident, which will then trickle down to their loved ones that they're taking care of.
Right. Let's get a few logistics about that support group. It's held at St. Michael's Episcopal Church. That's in Grosse Pointe Woods, 20475 Sunningdale Park, Grosse Pointe Woods. And the dates are the first Wednesday of every month, January 7th, February 4th, March 4th, April 1, and May 6th. And for the next 6 months, you've got these sessions set up. It starts at 6 p.m., correct?
Starts at 6
p.m.
goes to 7:30.
Okay, and we'll put that information on the screen so our viewers will be able to write it down. But just so they know, again, I'm going to repeat the dates: January 7th, February 4th, March 4th, April 1st, May 6th, 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., St. Michael's Episcopal Church in Grosse Pointe Woods. That's an Alzheimer's Association support group run by you, Faye.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. As just a little tidbit there, and you did kind of hit on it in the beginning, there are millions of people that have dementia or, its biggest one, Alzheimer's.
Right.
And out of those millions of people, it's even hard to comprehend this, 70% of those people live at home. And they're being taken care of by family members who want to do the right thing and are just overwhelmed.
And without any type of formal training.
Yes.
Correct?
Absolutely.
And there is training. There are a lot of resources available through the Alzheimer's Association. However, the day-to-day is really one of the issues. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this field. I've read once, and I quote this often, that one doesn't choose Alzheimer's or dementia as a career path. It chooses you.
That's very true. That's very true, because I worked in the travel industry for many years. In fact, I was the director of a huge school. And then my mother, all of a sudden, got dementia. She had vascular dementia. I moved her in with me, quit the job. It did become a full-time job taking care of her. And I had her for 8 years.
8 years.
Unfortunately, at that time, there was not a lot of help. I didn't know what to do with her. The only alternative would have been a nursing home, and I didn't want that for her. She could still function. Of course, the functions did decline and decline, but she was not nursing home material. So it was many years of frustration because I did a lot of the wrong things. I've learned quite a bit. And then after she passed away, I did contact Bright Star to see if they would need just a caregiver. I didn't have a lot of experience, and that's when I started with them, and I've only taken care of Alzheimer's people.
Yes, yes.
So I've learned so much.
You have learned a lot through your own, as we said, your personal experience, and then through the interest you've sought the formal training through the through Alzheimer's Association. Tell us, give us some examples. What are some of the things you did with your mother, and what was a situation where you found that you needed to do something, you needed to tap your creative side, which you have?
Well, the biggest thing is I noticed that I was almost happy when she was just sitting on the couch staring out the window. Isn't that an awful thing to say? But then she wasn't demanding anything.
That's why you were happy.
Yes, and that happens in most families, because I think in your mind you think, well, they're happy, they're just sitting there. Not true. Not true. And I realized I had to give her something to do. I had to get through somehow. And in the early years with her, I started talking about the family because we were from England and lived there during the war. So it gave her something to talk about. And in the beginning, she could tell a lot of stories. And luckily, I started writing them all down. So that was the first intervention, I think, that I had with her. It gave her something to think about, and it brought back tons of memories for her. And then we moved on from there. I had her knitting again because she had always knit. And she used to work at the theater downtown, all of the shows that came into town. She was a seamstress.
Oh, no
I mean, she met Yul Brynner and all these people.
Oh,
so talking about that, too. And it was good for me because all of a sudden I could communicate with her on a logical basis. So that then grew from there.
But you had to go back generations, many years. Yeah.
I have found in the past 3 years, the biggest memory period is very young adult, possibly right after high school or that first couple of 2 years after that, only up to age about 30. Those are their most vivid memories. It's not the last 10 years or anything like that. They want to go back to that time. Well, isn't that when we were happiest? I mean, that's the age. So that is what I always concentrate on now, that era.
How do you find out about that era? What are some of the tools you use to dig into someone's background?
You have to get a lot from the family, actually, because they can't tell you. I just found that one of the best icebreakers, and now I use it all the time, is music. Women, I don't care how old they are now, all women love to dance. And they remember their high school dances and all of those things. And I have found it such a tool to dig into those memories.
And it gets them up and moving.
Them up and moving. And all of a sudden, it's just like little light bulbs go off. They go here, and they go here, and then they start talking about this. And then it builds. It just builds. So it gives them such joy.
Yes, yes. What if just getting through a normal day, I'm thinking of with my own mother. My mother had dementia as well, and she lived with me for 3 months. Not 8 years like you did with your mother, which God bless you. There is a place in heaven for you. We know that.
I think so.
But it was very difficult, and I found myself frustrated and angry and resentful. I thought, why did my mother, who I always looked up to, suddenly become my child? Literally.
Oh, yes.
I mean, her physical needs were almost turned her into a baby who had to be cared for. But there were those times, like you said, those moments of lucidity, or something sparked an interest, and she would say something that was so thoughtful and wise. often wrote them down. But, excuse me, I'm not sure, I don't remember what got us there. Are there tips that families can use to get there?
You have to know what they did when they were young, number one, and kind of play with that. I've found that gentlemen, especially if they were engineers, that's a very logical mind. Now that little mind has gone snafu. They sit and stare a lot. But what I found was they like to measure things. That goes back to what they did. So you kind of have to think of what they did. And you don't make a big deal about it. I have little protractors and things I will just put on the table and not say anything. And they start fooling with them and they start measuring things.
Yeah.
Because that's what they did. And then from there, they may begin talking. They like to file things, so you have stacks of paper for them to file. Little things.
Right, so it's not this big announcement. Now we're going to do this project.
No, actually nothing can be introduced as a project. It just kind of has to be slipped in. I have found that the people that have trouble eating, and that's common, there's so many simple little things to do. You don't make a big deal out of eating. You don't ask them if they want to eat, and you make the plate very interesting. Tiny little sections on one plate that you share with them. Because depending on the level that they're at, they sometimes want to get it before you do. So it becomes a game of eating. Very successful. Because you don't make a big deal about it, make a big deal about nothing. It all has to be just slid in a little bit.
You've got some good approaches to, now it's lunchtime. What are, instead of asking questions, which you say, don't ask a question, present a positive statement and invite them in. How would that look if we're talking about a meal?
You have to be pumped up yourself. Wow, I'm really hungry. Come on, you can help me make lunch. There is no, do you want to? You're just shuffling them right along and they will follow you.
Right.
Because number one, you're happy, you're upbeat, and they want to help you.
Right.
So much better than saying, do you want to eat? Because if you do, they're going to say no.
Right.
It's the same thing with going to the bathroom, which is a big issue.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to go to the bathroom? Nope.
Right.
Same thing. Wow, I really have to go to the bathroom. Come with me. I'll go first. You go next.
Okay.
And they will.
So it's participatory.
Yes. Yes.
That is very different.
And it seems to work.
Yeah. Okay. These are really good tips, and this gets into the whole area of communication. I know the Alzheimer's Association has a whole program, a whole section just on successful communication for all stages of the disease. Communication is so important. It can help divert someone who might have some negative behavior, if they're tend to be argumentative or combative. You can use communication skills.
Well, communication is critical. And you can communicate with them through a multitude of ways. It does not have to be verbal. You can communicate with just a touch on the hand, looking right into their eyes, a big smile. You can also communicate with activities. Let's paint this today. That's communication if they're doing it back with you. Almost any situation you can turn into a communication avenue. And you have to, because that's what's going to bring them out a little bit more each time.
You've had some great success stories with your clients at Bright Star. Tell us about a couple of them. I'm thinking of one woman in particular who was a seamstress and a crocheter.
Yes.
But when you first started caring for her, a woman in her 90s, could not crochet or would not because her hands were arthritic.
I think she was frustrated by her hands not working, and she probably didn't understand why they didn't work because she had crocheted for years, had beautiful things. But because it didn't work right, she just wouldn't do it. I think in her day she was probably quite a perfectionist with all the things she did. So one day I said to her, I don't know how to crochet. Do you think you could help me? And she looked real disgusted, you know, like I probably wouldn't be able to do it. And she worked with me one whole evening, and of course, I do know how to crochet. And she was teaching me how to crochet. And I had homework to take this little thing home, was making a hat, and bring it back. Well, I made sure that it was just full of holes and stuff. So I did bring it back, and she was absolutely mortified with all these mistakes. She made me tear it all out. So then I did it right the next time, and then she was pleased. I said, I don't think anyone could have taught me that except you. Then we started crocheting all the time, and then she made me hats, scarves, afghans.
Oh, for heaven's sakes.
And she was doing it all the time.
And her family was certain that she couldn't do it because, like we said, her hands were difficult for her to hold the needles and so forth.
That is a problem with families. It's always they can't do it.
They're not interested.
Yeah, baloney. There's no such thing. No such thing. Try something different.
Yeah.
They're still people. They can
That's
do
right.
something.
That's
and you
right.
just have to find the right thing.
So how do you get through to the family? I mean, the support group is going to be excellent for that, but
Yes,
when you're
families are
dealing
difficult.
one-on-one with a family, how do you get through to them when
It's
they
hard.
just...
It's hard because you really don't want to insult them.
Sure.
You don't want to say you're doing the wrong thing. So I try to approach it as, you know what, I tried this today at work. You might want to do this because she's happy today. Or I would try this with the food because you're worried about her eating. She doesn't want to drink anything. Buy one of those little sippy cups. They have animals and all kinds of stuff
That's
on
right.
them. And
They
they'll
do.
drink out of it.
Yes.
Everything's presentation. So
Right.
if you have presented it in a happy little, not real nutsy cuckoo way,
Right.
they're going to listen to
Right.
you. You don't want it to be a demand. You know?
And you've also got to kind of meet them where they are, right?
Absolutely.
I learned this from a music therapist. If they're kind of down or not up that day, even though you're going to be positive, you can't go in there just overly
No.
gung-ho. And I remember we had a caregiver for my mother who did exactly that. She just went overboard with her zeal, if you will. And she would come in and dance around my mom and call her a princess, and that was not my mother. Another person
Yeah.
that may have worked better for, but my mother was quite serious, and she often felt that she was being mocked.
Oh, I could see that.
If somebody,
Sure.
she felt she was being condescended to. So that's something we have to be very,
Very
careful
careful.
and
You
aware.
have to let them take the lead. You can drop the crumbs. But the client has to take the lead.
Right.
And you have to be very attuned to that.
That's right.
And then you will get positive results.
Yeah. You had another case, a gentleman who was from the South, and we think worked on, was it the Biltmore?
Vanderbilt, wasn't it? Biltmore.
Biltmore
Biltmore
Mansion.
Mansion.
Yes, yes.
That's it.
Tell us about your experience with him. It may not even have been true, but the point is you got through.
Yeah, he was from the South, and when I first met him, the family did all the talking, so that was a problem right away. So until I had him by himself, I really didn't know where he was. Cute. Oh my gosh, he was the cutest little bugger, wasn't he? Oh. And the report was all he did was look out of the window all day. Well, he liked the birds, I think, outside, but
Sure.
that's all he did. So they had told me about where he was from, and that he sometimes talked about buildings and things like that. So I copied all these things from the internet, the wonderful source, and I did the Biltmore Mansion, and I had like 5 different pages, and all I did was lay them. I never said a word. I just had gotten there that day, and I just laid them out in front of him.
And they were the illustrations of
They
the
were
mansion
illustrated, yeah. And there were 5 sheets. I made sure they were all lined up perfectly because he was almost an engineer himself. And they liked things neat. And he would look at them, and he would look at them, and then he started rubbing his fingers on them. And he picked one. It had a balcony, I believe. And he said, I built that. And he explained his little toolbox and everything. And this was daily. This is all he talked about. And he talked about his father. So what I surmised was maybe his father worked on it, and he went with his father to work because they were very poor people. So they probably took their kids everywhere they went because he knew everything about the tools and every room, and he talked about fountains and described it to a T.
Yeah. That's almost
that got him
magical.
talking.
I know you talk about these being the magical
it's magical.
years, and it is. I've got, I'm getting chills right now.
It's magical.
Faye, you have done some remarkable work in the community. You really have, and I'm just so hopeful that people come to your
Oh yes, I hope so.
to your support group. They will learn so much. I want to shift for a moment because you do work for Bright Star Care, which is my agency. You have blessed us, many of our clients, and our caregivers, and you also teach our caregivers.
Yes.
You do some training during orientation to share some of these wonderful
Breakthroughs, really.
breakthroughs that you have learned. Talk a little bit about some of the work that you do for Bright Star, whether it's with the caregivers or you make visits to some of the clients with...
I put together kind of a logical order of things, really. Caregivers have very good training from the schools that they go to. Not a lot of concentration on dementias and Alzheimer's. So I put together a logical order. It's called the Circle of Care, how to first greet your client, how to move on to introducing activities to them. I have little charts that have all activities. I have another chart that has all behaviors and how to deal with them. Just handy little guides so that their day is successful as well. Because if they're successful with their client, they almost have ownership of that little guy, right? And it's a plus for everybody. I also go out and visit our dementia clients to see if I can help at all with the caregivers, give them different ideas. I bring out some of our activities for them.
And all this is part of the service.
Yes.
There are no, are there extra charges?
No charges.
No, exactly.
Because if your employees are happy and they really feel they're making a difference, they will make a difference.
That's right.
So it's a full circle.
Right.
It's good for the clients and it's good for our people.
That's right. That's right. Some of you've gone through some training. A lot of this is obviously natural. It comes natural to you. You obviously are gifted in this area, but you have taken the time and the energy to go through formal training, much of it through the Alzheimer's Association.
Yes.
I know you've done a lot of reading on your own as well. Tell us a little bit about the training that you received from the Alzheimer's Association, specifically to run the support group.
I have taken, I think, all of their courses prior to the support group training. They have a program, it's called Essentials. It's basic dementia, I have advanced dementia, dementia-related behavior, all of those things. And it's a 2-year certificate that you renew. It's a long online course, actually. And a huge test, I might add, at the end. The support training was something we recently learned about, that they have facilitator group training. It was a half-a-day training with maybe 7 other people. Very intensive. A lot of role plays with other people. Did see some videos that I have actually purchased because I think it will be helpful for people. But the whole focus being the importance of the support group and how many people need it. And there's a little how-to manual with just suggestions, but basically you're on your own with the focus being, we want this safe, we want it comfy, we want it confidential, and we want you all to learn from each other.
Yes.
And they become a family of their own.
Right. And confidentiality is a big part.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
A lot of people don't come because they're...
Well, they're afraid to bare their soul, really, aren't they? And some people are afraid to admit, I was so mad at my mother yesterday, I could have, ooh. You know, they're afraid to admit that. And they really need to to get back to, you are a good caregiver. You just had a bad day, you know. So they will be confident caregivers as well.
Right, right. And this is a new group on the east side.
Brand new.
Because the Alzheimer's Association does sponsor other such
Yes.
groups, but they're elsewhere in the metropolitan area. But this is the first one, Alzheimer's sponsored by in our own Grosse Pointe
In our
community.
area, yeah.
So I'd like to just reiterate again the dates and the place. So it's a monthly support group at St. Michael's Episcopal Church. That's at 20475 Sunningdale Park, Grosse Pointe Woods, from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. The first Wednesday of every month, starting January 7th, February 4th, March 4th, April 1, May 6th. It's for families. It's for caregivers.
It's even friends. In some cases, friends take care of someone
Sure.
with Alzheimer's.
Anybody who just wants more information and wants to be able to.
It could be, you know, 2 family members.
Exactly.
You know, it doesn't matter how many people come,
That's
and
right.
sometimes they do come as a whole little group.
It's free. There's no commitment. You can come one time, not come
Right.
back. You do not have to, it's not a progressive
No.
type of class that
No.
you have to enroll in. I believe we are taking RSVPs. We would like a general idea of how
Yes,
many
that
to
would be good.
expect. And they can either call St. Michael's Church or they can call us at the Bright Star office, which is 586-279-3610. And Faye, I know we're also putting your email address on the screen so people can contact you directly.
Sure.
If they have...
Or if they have specific concerns that they hope will be addressed,
Sure.
sure, they can contact me prior to the meeting.
Okay, very good. Anything else that you would like to mention or underline that you think we may have missed? We have about 2 minutes left,
2
I
minutes,
believe.
oh my gosh. The only thing I can say is I know some of you feel very alone. You won't be if you come to our group. You will really find great information for yourself. Even if you only come once, you will really be able to help your loved one. And that's really the goal, isn't it? It's helping your loved one.
Yes, yes, so that you can have, number one, fond memories, and number two, be proud
Absolutely.
after it's over.
And take care of yourself.
Right.
It's important that you take care of yourself as well, and we'll have a lot of discussions about that.
That's so important. You're
Yep.
so right about that. Taking care of yourself as the
Yes,
family
critical.
caregiver. Thank you so much, Faye.
Well, thank you.
You truly are an angel in our community. I thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
We've come to the end of another episode of Aging Well in America. Please send us your ideas here at the Grosse Pointe War Memorial for future topics for us to explore. Thank you. See you next time.